thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Today. Got a very special friend and guest here with us today from Prime Realty, Tyler Saldutti. Tyler, welcome to the program.
It's great to see you.
You know, one of the things that I've seen you do around Jacksonville that fascinates me is the non-traditional reuse of industrial and historic buildings. It's easy to tear things down. It's easy to build things up. It's a special challenge and a special risk to invest time and capital into historic buildings for non-traditional uses. Why do you find that as a real estate investor and a real estate developer, why is it attractive to you to be involved in repurposing and reuse?
Well, the development community here in Jacksonville is using a playbook that's worked in city after city and urban community after urban community. So you can look around the East Coast and beyond to the repurposing of when factories and industrial properties were right there next to where everybody lived and right in the downtown. For us here in Jacksonville, we had the shipyards. We have Maxwell House right downtown, and other places. It was a logistics reasoning, right? This is before air conditioning. You'd have the warehouses on you get the breeze in the windows. This is before mass transit, so that people would live right nearby. So the infrastructure is there. You and I have talked about how you can't rebuild cool, and that authenticity, once it's gone, it's gone. So, we're following the same playbook that you could name. Hoboken, New Jersey is one of my personal favorites. Now Jersey City, but staying in the Northeast, Boston and downtown, New York downtown, Chicago. All of these properties that were once commercial now can serve as mixed use. You can have people buying goods on the first floor, people having an office space on the second floor, and people living on the floors above that. And those are the places that as every demographic, as people, you're drawn to. You might be a baby boomer, empty nester, and you want to live where you can walk and shop and live, work, play. You might be a yuppie or a dual income, no kids, dink, and you're looking for a similar thing. And that's what's driven a lot of the development for those types of projects. And COVID's gonna change that, but it's not gonna change it long term.
Right. Yeah, we're certainly flexing in 2020 of how we put people in spaces. But long term, there's no doubt in my mind that the character of historic buildings as we continue to renovate and repurpose is always going to anchor any community. It's a beautiful thing. Specific to the glass factory, you took a bold move, and
well, it certainly looks bold today in October of 2020. It was less bold in January before the health scare, but absolutely, like I said, this community and business community has been great to the Saldutti family and great to Prime Realty, and so we want to be one of the stewards to these great buildings and great facilities here in town. It's not as sexy as Deutsche Bank moving new jobs in here, but if the glass factory becomes a warehouse, there's hundreds of people that go unemployed, and those are the caterers and the rental equipment and the musicians and everyone that their livelihood is having events and putting on wonderful events there in the glass factory. So we really want to save that. We're putting our money where our mouth is, and perhaps we'll have some support from the city in doing that. We hope so.
Excellent. So if you're in conversation with a potential investor or developer who says, gosh, I saw this building in downtown Jacksonville, it's not only underused, it's unused. Maybe even it's boarded up. But the person has a vision and an idea. Where do you begin from that? I like that building, and I think it would be awesome as a mixed-use and restaurant space. How do you begin that process to get that, I got a cool idea and I'm excited?
Sure.
Does it start with zoning? Does it start with architects? How do you typically guide them?
Well, you can't prop up buildings or locations. They have to, we have to create the demand itself. Again, downtown has subsidies for the urban core, and I think those are important. But at the end of the day, these concepts, these developers, and these users of the space, it's on them to have the reason to go there. And so, it's all driven with the why, and it's all driven with the operator. And we're seeing in COVID that that's true in the suburbs, at the beach, in downtown. Strong operators are strong operators, and they're all figuring it out, and some are thriving more than others. And not strong operators are done.
Yeah.
So where do you start? You start with the strong operator. And so, it's not a downtown issue, or it's not all that different downtown than it is anywhere else. You have to have the business, and you have to have the business plan that makes sense, because without that, you could have the coolest building and the greatest facility in the world, but at the end of the day, it's going to take a strong operator, and you have to do your research and know that the demand's there, and and just like any business, have a solution that people want.
Yeah, that's important. And we have seen a lot of marginal operators go by the wayside, sadly, for them. Though a lot of opportunities are going to be created by some of those opportunities. Specific to the city, you mentioned the city and incentives and whatnot, whether it's Jacksonville or any city. Is it more important when we're looking to redevelop places, is it more important that cities provide revenue, or is it more important that they facilitate the flow of private capital?
It's important that we create a balanced ecosystem, and that's big fish and little fish. And so there's a lot of incentives and efforts that go after the big deals of bringing companies into Jacksonville, and that is crucial. And in Charleston, that was Boeing. In Nashville, it's had multiple, big catches, with Amazon being the latest, because without those big fish feed all the little fish and create little fish, and then the little fish grow up to be big fish. So the importance is not so much, in my opinion, the incentives. Those are pretty level playing field. All local governments are fighting with the same ammunition there. It's the little fish and the arts, the restaurants, the culture. That's why Nashville's able to get more. They created a brand. It's got music. Charleston, you get Boeing, but then you become this food and beverage hub of the world. So they have to feed off one another. And I think Jacksonville, we can get financial technology, or fintech. I think that can be, one of the industries we target. I think that sophisticated manufacturing and artificial intelligence is an industry we can target. And we need to get some big fish, and we need to have an ecosystem to take our little fish and have them grow up. But then web.com or Venus Swimwear, or, I like to think of Jacksonville Wealth Builders as a homegrown little fish that's become a big fish. These companies want to stay here, but eventually, if you're not Nashville, or you're not cool for whatever reason, it's going to be hard to keep them. So it's getting the big fish with the incentives, yes, but it's all the small fish, and it's all the infill. CCIM says approximately every job you bring in, you're going to create 2.2 jobs. Those 2.2 jobs are cutting your hair or feeding you, are a lot. A lot of it's the retail and service industry, right? Well, it's then on the community to do with those resources and find your brand and find your identity and become world-class in something. Yeah. And I think Jacksonville's got the port and the infrastructure and the quality of life, and we all know what we have. And it's really fun watching us develop that, because it's an exciting time here. There's winners and losers in COVID, and we just got named the #1 city for people to be moving into. and that's the population. And a lot of those are small fish, entrepreneurs that can be anywhere and smaller businesses that can be anywhere. And it's going to be interesting to see maybe our foundation of our ecosystem and the entrepreneurial ecosystem and the small fish maybe propping up. And that may be our trigger to getting some of the bigger fish here in town. But you need both, and then you need to be good with the resources when they get here to find your identity and figure out who you are.
My business heart loves growing our own fish because we can have a wonderful pond chock full of small fish and have a thriving community and a thriving economy. And the sad thing is when we see empty ponds with no fish because we're so focused on large fish and we get nowhere. That is sad to me. And you mentioned companies, and historically there's been many companies make it to the Fortune 500 that grew here. And I just love when we facilitate startups, entrepreneurialism, and then growth of those companies. Because every big fish that comes to a city swam away from another one. When we grow our own fish, it feels they're very likely to remain in our pond.
Love it.
Tyler, I always enjoy the conversation with you. You know that, sir. For folks who would like to engage in conversation with you one-on-one about their real estate investment needs, development needs in Jacksonville or beyond, the website, best place to initially reach out to you?
Absolutely. Please do reach out, primerealtyinc.com, 904-352-1400. It was great. Thanks again.
Always a pleasure to be with you.